I hope that you guys all enjoyed the Ramayana session last week, right, by Sai ji. You guys knew Ramayana until the Rama Kalyanam, Sita Kalyanam. So that was a very great session last week. And this week, we are going to have another great session by Shri J. Lakshmikant. So Lakshmikant Garu is going to talk to us about Panchatantra stories. And these stories are originally in Sanskritam, and these stories have been translated by one Shri Durga Prasad Rao just for us. Okay, and Shri Durga Prasad Rao is a Bhasha Pravina, is a Vedanta Vidya Pravina. He has got MA in Sanskritam. He has got PhD in Sanskritam with gold medal. And he has worked as a reader and the head of Sanskritam department in Akkineni Nageshwara Rao College. And he took voluntary retirement, and he is presently working as a visiting teaching facility for masters and PhD students in Dayal Bhag Educational Institute. And now Shri Lakshmikant Garu is going to tell you guys, he's a master storyteller. He's going to tell you guys the Panchatantra stories. And Shri Lakshmikant Garu is a success and life sciences coach, corporate speaker, and management consultant with over 25 years of global experience spanning technical, managerial, counseling, and community development arenas. And he is currently teaching courses on leadership, life skills, and employability skills to MBA and postgraduate students in Krishna University and elsewhere. He speaks at corporate events, conducts management workshops, and visits various educational institutions as a part of his counseling, consulting, and community development works. And as with you guys, I am also eagerly waiting to hear what are Panchatantra stories, and I want to just imbibe on that knowledge. Now over to Shri Lakshmikant Garu.
Thank you very much, Shyam Panchakesan Garu. Swagatam everyone. Namaste to elders. Yeah, today we will start talking about Panchatantra, what Panchatantra is, when did it start, who actually said it or who wrote it, and what does Panchatantra mean, who said to whom, why did they have to tell these stories, why were they recorded, and then we'll get started telling the stories themselves. Okay, so let's look at who actually gets credit for these stories. Okay, these stories actually, they were passed on from generation to generation for many millennia. What does millennia mean? Millennia means thousands of years. Centuries means hundreds of years, but millennia means thousands of years. India has a great tradition of storytelling by way of oral storytelling, and this has been going on for centuries and centuries and centuries together. So these stories called Panchatantra, they were originally in oral form, and they were passed from generation to generation in Indian culture, even before Christ, even before the Western world started calculating or keeping time. Okay, and it is documented that around 200 years or 200 to 300 years before Christ, Pandit Vishnu Sharma, he was the one who actually documented these stories in a format that others can read and learn from in Sanskrit. Before then, they were passed on orally from person to person, or parents to kids, elders to students, teachers to students, like that. And for the purpose of Dharmamoolam Program, Dr. Chilakamarti Durga Prasad Rao Garu is a professor in Sanskrit, retired professor in Sanskrit. he took the original Sanskrit text and started translating it for us in Telugu. And I am braving to narrate this English. Let's go to. So Panchatantra, Sharma, you can see the next slide, right?
We are able to see it, sir. Yeah. Please go
Okay.
ahead.
So Panchatantra, these are obviously, as I said, the oldest collection of stories known not only to us, but also to the whole civilization, but also to the whole world. These are the oldest collection of stories. And they obviously originated in India. They were oral stories. And initially written by Vishnu Sharma in Sanskrit. And in some places it is said that they were actually written in the area of India today presently called Kashmir, the northern part of India. Okay, these stories were actually written by Vishnu Sharma in the northern part of India, in an area around Kashmir, and from there they were taken. These stories were taken by people to different lands, to Persia, in the Middle East, Arabia, Greece, Europe, and also to the Far East, like in countries like Japan and all. Now, so initially these stories were in Sanskrit, were taken to Persia and other countries. Many others might have written these stories in their own languages, but the first ever known translation of Panchatantra is in pre-Islamic Iran. We say pre-Islamic because Iran, when Islam was not even founded, in that country, these stories were taken and they were written in their language, local language called Pahlavi language in the century AD, 565, year 565 or 560, thereabouts. Then who took these to other countries? That's a question. The question arises, who took these to different countries even before the print material was available? A lot of people in India, in the northern parts of India, they were nomads. Nomads meaning and in search of livelihood. They did not have any permanent place to live. So they used to move from place to place, and they carried these gypsies, they are called gypsies. They carried these stories because they were oral. Many of these stories were oral. They carried stories to Europe and other countries in Europe, and also to some parts of Russia. Okay, let's see. The first translation after the Pahlavi language translation we saw was in the 11th century. That was translated into Greek in 11th century. And from there on, we saw many translations come into vogue, come into circulation. And to this date, these Panchatantra stories, this whole text was translated the world over in over 50 languages. And this is a very favorite of stories. And these were taken into many countries. Many countries actually took the essence of these stories, adapted them, made their own, just as we see the Arabian Nights and many other folk tales from Europe, series of stories that we see in different countries. They find their origins in Panchatantra. And during Buddhism, when after Buddhism, and they also took these stories and they transformed these into Jataka tales. You can see these Jataka tales books being sold and online as well. And someone else also actually added some more stories to Panchatantra, abridged some of the other stories, and wrote them as Hitopadesha. Okay. So in summary, what we can say is Panchatantra is India's earliest gifts, one of India's earliest gift to the world. Not just stories, but also the wisdom that we pass on through these stories, the knowledge we transfer through these stories. It's also called Niti Shastra. And it's actually, we can say, life skills. It's a book on conduct in life, how to live, what are the skills needed to lead a happy life, successful life, how to communicate with others, how to make friends, and things like that.
Sir, Niti heard that it is not such a kind of word is not exist in Western literature and the words in a dictionary. Is it true? And somebody written it in an 1825 mentioning that is that there is no word equivalent to the Niti in dictionaries of English and European countries. And
That's right. Actually, Niti is a Sanskrit word, and if we really want to understand what this word means, we need many words or many collections of words to actually explain what. And let me tell you here, it's actually it means wise conduct of life, and it also the idea called Niti can only be grasped through different words, meaning the way we live, the way we conduct ourselves with others, the way we grasp things, the morality, ethics. So all put in current day English are together called as Niti in Sanskrit. Very combination of everything that a person needs to lead a happy, successful, and social life. And we'll see how that is. And when we look at this Panchatantra, what can anyone answer that? Pancha.
Is it means five? Five.
Good. Yes. And Tantra means?
Tantra. Is it
Yes. Okay. Pancha means five. Tantra means rules, philosophies, systems, methods. Okay. The five methods through which one can lead a happy life, one can become wise and conduct oneself with others in this society in a just, meaningful, successful, ethical, moral way. Okay, that's what Panchatantra means. And introduction given by Dr. Durga Prasad Rao Garu, I'll quickly summarize the introduction he has given. So these Panchatantra stories, as we already mentioned earlier, they are one of the earliest stories. India has a great tradition of, storytelling, telling stories through oral recitation. And among these, we can see these Panchatantra, which are one of the greatest stories of the world. And there are also Kasi Majli stories, wherein people used to go on pilgrimages to Varanasi or Kasi, which is the abode of Lord Shiva, as we believe. And while traveling to Kasi, then they used to tell these stories So they became popular as Kasi Majli stories. And then Sukha Saptati stories. Saptati means 70. Sukha means parrot. Okay. So Sukha Saptati stories means 70 stories as told by parrot. And so that's another series of stories. Then we also have Madana Kamaraju stories, wherein a prince falls in love with two princesses and wants to find out whom to marry. And these are a series of stories told in that connection. Then I think some of you may be aware of Bhatti Vikramarka stories. The king Vikramarka, he has a huge throne and has a lot of steps, and on each step there is a statue. There are two statues actually on either side, and as the king Vikramarka tries to get on the throne, each of these statues starts speaking and tells him a story. So that collection is called Bhatti Vikramarka stories. And then there are Kshemendra's Katha Saritsagaram, Gunadhya's Brihat Katha Manjari. So there are many series of stories, and today we are taking the earliest known set of stories to mankind, Panchatantra stories. And what do? They teach life skills, politics, worldly wisdom, and many other matters. Okay? Let's see how this book came about. Come into existence. Okay, so as you can see on this in this picture here, as we said earlier, these stories were told, or Vishnu Sharma supposedly belonged to Kashmir area of India, northern part of India. Whenever we tell a story, what do we say? We start saying far, far away, in a far distant land, right? So also, Vishnu Sharma started telling these stories, saying far, far away in South India. Okay, because for North India, South India is far away, and he mentioned a kingdom called Mahila Ropya. The name of the kingdom is Mahila Ropya, and it has a king, very wonderful king. His name is Amara Shakti. Okay, Amara Shakti. Amara Shakti means Amara means like a god, Devata. Shakti means power. So this king was very all powerful. He was ruling his kingdom very well. All his people liked him very much. He took care of all his public, his citizens, just like his own family, took care of them. If anybody got any needs, he made sure their needs were met. So King Amara Shakti was very popular, and he had three sons. And after taking care of his kingdom, his people, and making sure there are no enemies that come and take over the land, there are no wars, and if there are any wars, then participate in those wars and win them. After all these things that a king has to do are done, what does a king do? He'll start thinking about who will take over his kingdom after him. And luckily for this king Amar Shakti, he had three sons, and they were named Vasu Shakti, Ugra Shakti, and Aneka Shakti. Okay, Vasu Shakti, Ugra Shakti, and Aneka Shakti. And just as we see in today's world, some of the kids of very rich people spending their money and time on wasteful deeds and not learning anything, only some. So also in those days, these three sons of Amar Shakti, They were spending their time without learning anything. They were becoming dull heads. They did not gain any knowledge. They don't know how to communicate well with others. They did not know how to behave properly. They don't know how to respond to others if they were asked a question. They do not have any, they were not clever. They did not have any, intelligence that anybody can talk about. So they became dull heads. And this has become a very, very pain point or sad thing for King Amarashakti. So what did he do? Then he was feeling sad, thinking about his kids, what to do, how to make them, how to turn them into intelligent people so that he can pass on his kingdom, his throne to his princess, to his sons after his, after his death, or sometimes kings actually pass on the kingdom while they were still alive, and they go to the forests and to Vanaprastha. Okay, so the king then confers with his ministers. He has 3 ministers. He confers with his 3 ministers. And confers means, do you know what confers means? Anybody?
Discuss.
Ask.
Yes.
Us.
Yes. To confer means
Negotiating.
yes. He confers with his ministers. He calls his 3 ministers and says, this is the problem. You must have observed that my 3 sons, the 3 princes, are turning into dull heads. They don't know what to do. They cannot take any decisions. They're not behaving well. I am getting bad name because of him. And our, neighboring kings are all waiting for me to get old and then try to conquer our kingdom, because my sons won't be able to take care of our kingdom. So what should we do? And then one of the elders among the 3 ministers, eldest minister, he said, let me see. The first minister, eldest minister said, sir, why don't we actually put them through some formal education? Let us give them formal education. They can go through learning all the sciences, arts, how to rule a kingdom, how to participate in a war, how to win wars, communication skills, morals, ethics, everything, and all the shastras. And first of all, we have to actually teach them Vyakarana, grammar. Okay, just as we learn in English, the basics of grammar, the fundamentals of the English language. For communicating in any language, we have to learn the grammar, the principles of that language. So let us teach them Vyakarana. And the learning Vyakarana and Shastras, it takes about 12 years. And then learning statecraft, that is how to rule a kingdom, how to negotiate, how to win wars and all these things, communication skills, all these things, it takes another 12 years. And then learning music, dance forms, and horse riding, all those other skills, they will take another. So he kept on saying, let us teach these students, these 3 princes, send them to school and let us teach them all these shastras, all these skills, all these subjects, and they will become knowledgeable. So why do you worry? We have excellent teachers in our kingdom. Many people are getting trained. Why do you not want to send your kids to those monasteries or schools, as we call them today? Then the king initially thought that's a good idea, but then he realized it will take many years for the princess to learn all these. And the princes are already into probably their teens. They're already into, have become pretty young, and they don't have too much time to learn. And if they spend all these decades learning, then it will become very difficult. The king is already getting old. So the king started thinking, and he became sad, and then turned to other ministers. Then there is a wise minister among the three called Sumati. Okay, so what did Sumati say? Sumati said, my lord, or oh king, why are you so worried? I know of a wise man, a wise teacher, a wise guru by name of Vishnu Sharma. Oh, he can teach all this to teach our princess in no time. And he also actually turns any dullhead into a saint or a very learned man in a very short period of time. Don't worry about it. Just call Vishnu Sharma and ask him to get the princess trained, and then we'll see what happens. I'm pretty sure Vishnu Sharma can train our princess into wise men in a very short period of time. Then king was worried that it will take decades and decades for the three princes to learn all these. It came as a relief hearing Sumati's advice. Then he said, okay, let's call Vishnu Sharma. Okay, so then the king sent a chariot and some one minister like Sumati and a few soldiers to Vishnu Sharma, and they brought Vishnu Sharma, Pandit Vishnu Sharma, to King Amar Shakti. So king asked Vishnu Sharma, Pandit ji, Vishnu Sharma ji, train the three princes into wise men so that they can take care of the kingdom after me. Then Vishnu Sharma said, okay, that's not a problem. I can do that. I've done that many times for many people. Tens and hundreds of students came to me and learned. They turned wise and left. It's not a problem. But then the king said, under one condition, you have to turn them into wise men, teaching all the skills, imparting all the knowledge in 6 months. Can you do that? Okay. So then Vishnu Sharma thought for a minute and said, that's okay, I can do that. Then the king was surprised to hear Vishnu Sharma say, okay. Then the king asked, you have to turn them into wise men in 6 months, no more than that. Then Vishnu Sharma answered, my lord, I'll do that. I'll take no more than 6 months to turn the three princes into wise, worldly, knowledgeable people. And if I cannot do that within 6 months, I promise that I will leave the kingdom, or you can punish me whichever way, in whichever fashion you want. But I promise you, I'll turn them into wise kids, wise people within 6 months, no problem. So saying, he took the three princes along with him, Vasishakti, Ugra Shakti, and Aneka Shakti. These three princes to his hermitage and started teaching them the essence of all the Shastras, all the skills, all the knowledge that the princess have to learn worldly craft, politics, warcraft, how to wage wars, how to win wars, how to make friends, all these things. So what is the syllabus? Right? Whenever we get into a course, we want to know the syllabus, right? So what is the syllabus that Vishnu Sharma prescribed to these three princess kids? Princess? The syllabus is very simple. It's said it's Panchatantra, which means 5 methods, 5 ways, 5 systems, 5 morals, right? 5 principles, whatever you may call. So, and these are the 5 sections of the Niti Shastra called Panchatantra: Mitra Bheda, Mitra Samprapti, Akokiyam, Labdha Pranasham, and Aparikshita Karakam. Have you heard of these before? Some of these words are probably familiar to you, right?
No.
Mitra means
I have never heard this word before.
Yeah, same.
I have not said that.
Did anyone hear about the word Mitra?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
The word Mitra.
I do not hear.
Mitra means
It means friendship.
yes, very good. Mitra means Mitra means friendship. Mitra means friend. Bheda means anybody?
Different. Friends.
Division.
Diverse.
Different.
Diversity.
Yes.
To means friend.
Bheda means division, difference, breaking. So Mitra Bheda means the breaking away of friendship. So friends breaking their friendship. Okay. Some of you are probably familiar with the Indian way of saying, right? This one. Are you familiar with this? Do you want to be friends or not? Right? Like that. So Mitra Bheda. Very good. So that is Mitra Bheda. How do we lose friends? Okay. Then Mitra Samprapti. Samprapti means winning. Okay. How to win friends. There is actually a wonderful and very world famous book by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's a wonderful book, very good book. And some of the principles in that book are also, we can see, are taken from Panchatantra, the essence of Panchatantra. Because the essence of Panchatantra traveled the whole world, all the countries. And the essence of Panchatantra got integrated into the stories that were told in local languages in their own countries. So Panchatantra, like the moral stories or stories you see on TV, let's say, what is it? Mickey Mouse. Anybody watch that? So you yeah.
Used
So,
to watch that.
And no. I used to watch it.
right? Or Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck stories. Mickey Mouse stories.
I used to.
You used to. Yes. So these are all we can say these are all derived from Panchatantra. Because Panchatantra was the earliest known collection of stories based on animal characters. Okay? We'll see what these are one by one again in the next few slides. So Mitra Bheda. What is Mitra Bheda? Mitra Bheda means estrangement. Estrangement means separation between friends. So earlier they were friends, and then something happened, and the friends got separated. Okay. Now, why does that happen? Why do very good friends separate? Why do breakups happen between friends? What should we do to make sure breakups do not happen? That is what we learn from Mitra Bheda stories.
Say sorry.
Was that?
Say
Okay.
sorry.
It provides deep understanding. A good friendship can turn into enmity. Very good friends today, and after a few days, these two good friends, can turn into enemies. Something happens. Somebody comes in and breaks their friendship, or some misunderstanding creeps in. And a very good friendship, two very best friends, bosom friends, close friends, can be separated. Why does that happen? What should we do to make sure such a thing does not happen? Those things we learn in stories under this chapter called Mitra Bheda. Now, how opponents or enemies can create rift between friends. It's not only the friends that develop misunderstandings. Some of our enemies or some people who do not like us, they can actually create some differences among two good friends. When two people are living very happily together, very happy, being very good friends, a third person can get jealous, right? They can get jealous and say, why are they so close? I cannot make any friends. Why are they so close and why are they so good friends to each other? I should break them up. I cannot get good friends. Nobody should get good friends. So thinking, some people actually create certain differences among the good friends. So how does that happen? And what should we do? How can we recognize? And what should we do to make sure such a thing does not happen and we maintain good friendship with our best friends? Okay. Now, what we should understand is any rift, any difference that happens between friends, it only helps the enemy to get stronger, right? If two friends have any differences, then enemies will start feeling happy, thinking that, okay, now I can break them up. Now they have some difference, they are quarreling. Now I can go and increase their quarrel, increase their differences, and separate that. What is the fun in separating? Why does anyone want to separate two people who are together as good friends? When people are united, they are strong. They are strong, right? When people are united, they are very strong and others cannot defeat them. Okay? Whereas when they are not united, when they break up, then anybody can defeat them. Okay? Not only in war, not only in fights, even in studies, when you have a very good friend who helps you with your subjects, who helps you with new concepts, then you both become stronger. Then
when they
break up, what happens? Only you study yourself and you are not getting the benefit of your friend giving more information, giving new inputs, okay, new knowledge, which means you are not as knowledgeable as before. And then maybe you won't get first grade, top grade. You won't get honors, okay? And then somebody else, like, who was in the second position or third position will take over. So unity is strength and being divided will be weak. So Mitra Bheda will tell us. Now, what is the principle in Mitra Bheda that we'll learn when we go into the stories? Be wary if a friend accuses another of crime. This is where friends will try to create differences between two very good friends. Okay, so this is a collection of stories, and about 45 to 47% of the stories are in Panchatantra are dedicated to Mitra Bheda. That is how important Mitra Bheda is. Why is it so important? Making a friend, becoming very good friends is easy, but keeping that friendship for a long period of time, making sure any differences we get between friends do not disturb our friendship, that is very important, right? That is very important. So what is it called? Maintaining friendship. Maintaining friendship is very important. Just as anything else, you build something, it takes maybe a couple of months or 2 days, whatever. But then to maintain it well, you need to spend a lot of energy. So also with friendships, okay? You make friends with someone, but to maintain that friendship, you have to spend energy. You have to focus on your friendship. You should not be distracted by any small things that may pull you down. Okay, that is why Vishnu Sharma spent almost half his energies, that is about 45% of his energies, in telling stories related to Mitra. Okay. Now let's move on to the second part. What is this second chapter or second tantra in Panchatantra? Making new friends. Mitra Samprapti. Samprapti means gaining. Okay. Now, so just as in Mitra Bheda, the Bheda was between two animals, the lion and the bull, and Mitra Samprapti, the dove, it's like a pigeon, crow, mouse, tortoise, and a deer. They come together making new friendships. And that, we have stories related to these animals. We get to know about these animals, the bird, dove and crow. And what does this chapter of stories tell us? It gives insights into how lost friends can be gained back. Okay, so in the first chapter or the first tantra, we learned about how not to lose friendship, and in the second, you lose a friendship, then how to gain it back? What should you do? And also, what are the skills you need? How should you behave to make new friends? Okay, how people or friends with mutual interest can join together to achieve a common goal and come out of difficult situations. So, how to regain your lost friends, how to make new friends, and how to work together as friends and be very strong to achieve bigger things in life, greater things in life. Okay, so this Mitra Samprapti talks about cooperation among friends. Okay, how different friends should work with each other, how we should trust each other, and how we should behave when we are faced with difficulties, and we should achieve, and how we can be united and achieve our goals. So that's Mitra Samprapti, and it covers about 25% of the Panchatantra stories. So Mitra Bheda and Mitra Labha together account for about 70% of the stories, almost 70% of the stories. Now, the third chapter, the third tantra is Kakolikiyam. Okay, it's a story that involves crows and owls. Crows and owls. Crows and owls are traditionally, question for the kids, are they traditionally friends or enemies?
Please.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So now, have you seen Angry Birds?
Yeah.
I've seen.
Yes, I have seen.
Yeah.
Sorry, right?
Yes, it's a movie. So,
Sharma Garu, you want to engage them with the question?
I have Angry Bird games.
Okay. So what is the, anyone can answer this. What is the main theme of Angry Birds?
Birds are angry. The birds are angry.
Birds are angry.
trying to save them from
They get angry and they try to attack each other.
Birds have enemies and they want to like
Bird is angry.
how they resolve the they try to make peace.
The enemies angry.
They want to take revenge on the pigs, right?
No, which
Uh,
movie are you talking about?
So it's just like the Angry Birds. Here also, there's a fight between crows and owls, and the crows, how they destroyed the owls cleverly, is what we learn from here. And so basically here, more than destruction, what we learn here is, even though we are not strong, how can we win over the enemy? Okay, how can we win over the enemy? So the principle we learn, the morals we learn, or the skills we learn from Kakolakiyam is mental strength. Mental strength is much more powerful than having very strong body or having a lot of weaponry and all. Mental strength actually being very strong physically and having a lot of ammunition. Okay. This principle is on how to create misunderstanding in the enemy, how to weaken them, and how to win them over. Okay, how to win over them. And at the end, it also talks about how to compromise, how to make a deal, how to negotiate. Okay, so that is Kakolakiyam. The first is Mitra Bheda, how we lose friends. The second chapter is, the second tantra is Mitra Samprapti, or the another name for that is Mitra Labha, how to gain friends. Then the third one is how to win over or how to compromise, how to make a deal so that we can work together. Okay, so that is about Kakolakiyam. Let's look at the next one, Labdha Pranasham. Okay, the fourth tantra is Labdha Pranasham. Labdha means gain, and Nasham means loss.
And everybody keep a question short and don't discuss any points here. And we just telling the stories. It will
Okay.
help you after listening to all the stories. It will help you to learn more techniques, and just wait for the stories to complete. So then you will get.
So the last of the 5 tantras is Aparikshita Karakam, that is action without complete understanding, comprehension, or rash deeds, okay, rash behavior. This principle talks about
I have to go.
what are the consequences of taking action in a hurry without knowing the details or what actually is the truth. So these set of stories tell us to be wary, to be cautious of any hasty judgments we take. Okay, so this way, in 5 different chapters, 5 tantras, Vishnu Sharma taught the 3 princes how to live, how to communicate, how to rule the world, and he turned them into wise men. Now we'll get into the stories from the next class. Okay, class.
We will continue in the next class. Everybody, the sloka class.
Thank you very much, kids. Have a great time.
We have break.